I'm so humbled and grateful to such the amazing, strong fan base that we've had over, at least for me, 30 years now, which is pretty crazy to think about. But just watching on a global level to see how this movie, quote unquote, for Netflix was received is obviously a huge honor, and I'm glad that so many people resonated with it, and we got to hear how, oh my gosh, it took me back to my childhood.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. My name is Talal, and you're listening to the Popcorn and Soda Podcast, the show where we discuss all things movies, pop culture, and so much more. I want to thank each and every one of you for making me a small part of your day. On today's show, we're joined by a very special guest. You know him as Billy Cranston, the original Blue Ranger in the pop culture classic TV show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You can now see him make his triumphant comeback to this role on the Netflix 30th year anniversary special Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, which is now streaming worldwide. Creative artist who does it all, a friend of the show, the very talented Mr. David Yost. How are you, David?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me back on. I appreciate it.
I am great, and thank you so much for coming to hang out. And it's so great to see you again. Almost, 3 years since you were last on this show. Lots have changed since then, David, so we're going to dive deep into all of that. But before we get into the fun stuff there, let's talk about you. How have you personally been over the last couple of years as you continue to recover from this pandemic?
Well, I think overall I've been great. The pandemic was good for me in some ways. I'm different than most people. I enjoy solitary being by myself and not having to be too much around a lot of energy. So it was great for me in that sense. But I'm certainly happy that we're kind of getting over the pandemic and being able to get out in the world and be with people again and have a more normal life. I will say that living in a large city like I live in Los Angeles, our lockdowns were a little bit more intense than other places, and so it did get a little, I don't know, frustrating at times. But I'm good.
Yeah, but hey, that's what we want to hear. I'm glad to hear that you're doing good, and I think you just nailed it right there. It's one of those things where there's a lot of change, whether you like it or not, and I think it's up to us to kind of take the positives out of this pandemic that happened and is still happening in worldwide right now at the moment. So I'm happy to hear that you're doing well, and hopefully for people that are listening, that I'm sure you can take even one positive away from all of this and apply that to your everyday life. So
Absolutely.
talking about change, Netflix, 30th year anniversary, Billy Cranston, OG cast. What a special, David. Now that Once and Always is finally out, in a few words personally, what comes to mind about the reception, just everything in between?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm so humbled and grateful to such the amazing, strong fan base that we've had over, at least for me, 30 years now, which is pretty crazy to think about. But just watching on a global level to see how this movie, quote unquote, for Netflix was received is obviously a huge honor, and I'm glad that so many people resonated with it, and we got to hear how, oh my gosh, it took me back to my childhood, and thank you so much. It just brought up so many great memories for me. That's like the overall response, I would say. There's a few fringe people on the fringe that hated it, and oh, it's the worst piece of crap ever, and it's cheesy. I don't know, but I would say in general, 97% of the response has been positive. So I'm super grateful for that. And it was a lot of hard work. It was many years in the making in some ways. And so I'm super grateful to Hasbro and to Netflix for stepping up to the plate, for listening to me, and at least creating this special to give to the fans.
So let's Tarantino this and like work backwards. We spoke about this in our last conversation, and you brought up, hey, if there ever is going to be a reunion, the 30th year anniversary is the prime time to make this happen. David, you spoke it into existence. I don't know how much credit you're going to take for this, but you definitely did. So how did this all come together?
Well, probably when we spoke last time, I was already working on something in my head called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers: The Quantum Continuum, which is a 8 episode limited series, whatever. That, I just I see what the Power Ranger franchise can be, and I just really wanted to take it another step and just sort of push it more into an adult market. And so, I had been working on that, and an opportunity came up for me to talk with the powers that be at Hasbro. And so we had a few conversations discussing my series, and I think they were pretty receptive to it. But unfortunately, something kind of got in the way that kind of blocked that, uh, that I'm not able to talk about. And so in order for that, because that, they said, well, we've been given permission to make this special, and this is sort of how we want to do it. And I was like, okay, and so from that point, when they said they could make this special, they started doing whatever they started doing, like hiring, talking to the writers and the producers and figuring out sort of how we're going to do it. When it was first framed, and I mean, literally uh, probably 2 months up until going to shoot, it was always about the original cast. So bringing back Kimberly and Tommy and Jason and uh, Zach and Trini and Billy, I guess. So it was always sort of about those characters. But unfortunately, certain circumstances kept happening as we were leading up to film it. So, the script kind of kept getting changed, and things were coming and going. And even up until shooting, even once I was in New Zealand, the script still wasn't locked. And I was like giving notes. A lot of people were giving notes, but I was giving a lot of notes about, like the integrity of MMPR, and don't do this, you can't do this, that kind of stuff. And so, it was a two-year process for sure, to get it to where it was. And we did it, and we got what we got, and overall it was great.
So what I find so interesting about this special, David, is that it's got a very mature subject matter, which is definitely a change for the show. And spoiler alert for anyone who has watched it, you can forward the next 5 seconds. It deals with the passing of a ranger. So when we last spoke, you were really talking about how you kind of want to take the Power Rangers saga, the universe, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers at least, in a more adult, maybe a bit more mature theme and subject matters. What was your initial reaction to when you originally read the script in terms of having such a deep root of the story?
you know in my series Quantum Continuum, I mean, we deal with the death of Trini, but we don't have her die as a Power Ranger or anything like that. So the fact that they presented it like this, at first I was like,
Mm,
kind of like, I don't know if we can
yeah.
do that. That's my thought process. But I'm glad that they took that leap. And it is a shock, I think, and it's something that we've never seen. We don't often see our superheroes pass away while in battle. And so, that was a big risk, I think, on Hasbro and Netflix's part. But I think the way that they handled the subject matter and bringing in her daughter, the character's daughter, to step up into her mom's place, I think sort of softens the blow a little bit. And it was sort of shocking, but I think it turned out as good as it could.
Yeah, do you think Hasbro and Netflix went out to make this special, this movie, for existing fans that were from 30 years ago almost? Or do you think it's almost like you can kind of have newer fans come in and watch it? Or do you think it's done more justice when you know you have that history and the nostalgia with the original fans of the show?
Well, I mean, that was always sort of my argument, because I've always been, I'll just say, like, I'm a huge Cobra Kai fan, but I didn't know I needed Cobra Kai. Like, I'm what I call a sleeping cell. So, I knew about Karate Kid. I liked the Karate Kid movies, but I just kind of went on with life. And
Right.
then Cobra Kai came on, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is so awesome!" And I was like, "Wow, I didn't know, I didn't know how invested and connected I really was to Karate Kid growing up." But this certainly opens that up. So I was always pushing for that a similar experience. And so I will say that there was a little bit of a battle with me and the powers that be contractually, because I would keep getting things that would say that it was for kids. And I would be like, no, I don't want to be involved in something that's kids. I'm not doing Power Rangers like I did 30 years ago. We gotta make an evolutionary jump. We gotta elevate Power Rangers. And so, I mean, I feel like probably at the end of the day, it kind of met in the middle. Like I sort of got what I want, and they got what they want. And it's certainly more adult. And it's certainly, I see a lot of fans say this, it's a love letter to fans.
Right.
Because, if you really were a huge fan of Power Rangers and you continue to be a fan of Power Rangers, you understand all the little things that are hidden within the TV show, or just things like Bandora Protocol, or I don't know. There's just tons of like little things that if you
Like Easter
didn't
eggs in
really
there,
know
yeah.
about the series, you wouldn't really understand what it truly means. So it's certainly driven for our diehard strong fans that they're the reason that we're here. But I certainly hope in some ways that it did open up sleeper cells, like how I was for Cobra Kai, but sleeper cells for Power Rangers, like people that really were Power Ranger fans when they were kids, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so fun. It's almost like when I was a kid, but it's a little bit more mature." So,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard that all over. So I feel like the job was accomplished, and we did open it up to a larger audience.
Yeah, there's this happy medium I find almost in the episode or in the special where you have the diehard the nostalgia there, and you also have room for newer fans coming in discovering it for the first time, and I think that's so great. So walk me through the very first day on set for you personally, because this is a big deal for you, David. So coming back on set, knowing you're going to be filming for Power Rangers, walk me through it. What's going on in your head?
Well, I don't even know that I remember my first day on set because there was so much going on prep wise to get to that first day. We were in stunt rehearsals. We were in costume, like wardrobe and makeup, all these screen tests and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know that I remember the first day, but just I don't know. I guess like when it started hitting me is like when I was doing a wardrobe fitting in my blue spandex because they put Walter Jones, Zach, and myself back in our spandex, and I was like, oh gosh, this feels like sliding sliding on a glove that's a little bit tighter than it used to be, but it was it was an interesting experience. But I guess in terms of shooting, I really connected with Billy again when I filmed the part, and it was one of the first things that we shot for sure. I don't. It might have been day two though, but uh, when Billy is trying to bring Zordon back, and he's in the command center, and he's talking to Alpha 8 at that point, and he's like, "Come on, we got to do this, that, and the other." And so like I really felt connected to Billy again in that whole scene because that was sort of Billy's realm back in the day. And so that was a lot of fun and pretty exciting to film that whole sequence.
I think it's so awesome how your character is literally the very first thing we see in the special. And I think the character of Billy Cranston, he's got such a giant evolution from where we first saw him 30 years ago till now, where he's almost become this like Zordon type leader of the crew. And again, you just mentioned talking about working with Walter again as the two main OGs of this special.
Right.
Did it feel like you guys just picked up right where you left off after so many years?
I mean, it did. What's great about being an actor on Power Rangers, MMPR, is that because we have such an amazing, strong fan base, we get to travel all over the world and go to Comic Con. So it's not like I've ever been out of touch,
Right,
really,
right.
with a lot of my co-stars. Like we see each other all the time. So, but to get to go on set and to be Billy and be Zach was a lot of fun. And it was great for us as actors because there was a few scenes in there where, we would never get to act this type of a scene like back in the 90s. So, like when Zach and Billy are discussing how do we tell Trini's daughter that Trini died. And so to get to film that scene with Walter was really a lot of fun as an actor. So I think we just picked right up where we left off for the most part. But it was certainly, the original cast. We went through so much together in terms of auditioning and going to network and being picked to be the cast, and then filming the original pilot, and then being picked up for 40 episodes, and then being picked up for another 20 episodes. And then the show airs and we become famous together and all that kind of stuff. So we've been through so much together uh, that it certainly was sort of a real heart warming moment, at least for me, to get to be there with Walter and to experience how far we've come in this journey of Power Rangers.
So, personally for you, what was important in order for you to agree to this? For specifically the role of Billy, what did you want to see for Billy that made you say, you know what, I can sign off on this, I will appear on this?
Well, I mean, really, the big thing for me was that they had to film it under the Screen Actors Guild union umbrella, using their contracts and following their rules, and paying into our health insurance and paying into our pension and all that kind of stuff. That was rule number one for me. That's why I've never returned to anything previous. You got to do it union. So again, very grateful to Hasbro and to Netflix for listening and stepping up to the plate and doing the right thing. And they did that. So that was the first thing. But I just really wanted to make sure that my character and Walter's character were dealt with in a really in-depth way. Like we really get to see these characters more mature, and they need to have some substance. So there was a script that came early on, and I was just like, yeah, I don't think I can do this, because just nothing was in the script there that I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. And so they said, we understand, just trust us, and we're going to be doing all these things, and here's all these notes. And I was like, okay. So I trusted them, and the script got to where it got, and I feel good about it. And it was great to see Billy. They never really explained why uh, how Billy came back from Aquitar or where he's been all these years, but it was neat to see Billy have Cranston technology, and he sort of built it in the shape of the old command center. And the command center is actually in the basement of Cranston Tech, and so it was neat to have all these little elements. And then the Rad Bug too. He still has a flying car, so that was kind of exciting. Personally, I personally, just out of wanting to look cool, would have loved like a real spaceship, like a Ferrari or something, like just something a little bit more fun. But obviously, we want to again play to the fans, so the Rad Bug is playing to the fans. So I'm only saying that as a David Yost, the actor, like, oh come on, let me drive a fancy car. But it was a lot of fun. So I feel like Billy, we got to see Billy evolve again a little bit and see him sort of step into this leader position. But Zach's just as much of a leader as Billy is as well. I thought it was cool that Billy, the Blue Ranger, got to drive the Megazord, and so that was exciting as an actor, because Billy never got to do that before. I don't know. There was just a lot of really cool moments that I felt were great for my character.
Yeah, one thing I love about this special is that besides just the Rangers, there's this larger world they've created where it mimics the world we live in today. It's got just so much diversity, inclusion. How important was that for you personally in order to being, again, just going off the last question, for you to say this is something I want to be a part of?
In terms of inclusion, I mean, I will not take any responsibility for that, because it absolutely had nothing to do with me. I don't know if they were doing that as a favor to me, which is obviously very kind. I kind of had forgotten about it. I know I had read it in the script, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, since my character's not truly involved in that moment, I just didn't remember it. And then when I saw the first cut,
Right.
I was like, oh wow, I forgot they filmed that. That's really cool that they have a guy saying, please, my boyfriend, help him, kind of thing. And just making it very casual, like it's not a big deal. I thought was great from an LGBTQI perspective. I genuinely appreciate that. And, that was nice that they did that. But it wasn't like David Yost was like, you need to put this in the script. And if you don't, I'm not doing it. So I literally had nothing to do with that. That was all the writers, the producers. I don't know how it came about, but I certainly appreciate it.
You watched the special for the first time as David Yost. Forget about all Billy Cranston, the great character you play, but just as a viewer, did you enjoy it yourself?
Well, I the first time I watched it in like a small theater at Netflix with the cast and some of the producers and creators and some of the people from Netflix. And I was, it's always like hard because you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that I was able to enjoy it. I was certainly entertained by it, and I think we all laughed at the right places to laugh, and we all felt like invested in the story. I think we all kind of walked away feeling, oh, that was great. That was better than I thought it was going to be. So it was a lot of fun to get to watch it with the cast, whatever.
So when there's a special like this and it's a big success, David, you know how the corporate world works. There's always going to be room for future opportunities and future growth for this series. So, and there's a lot of little tidbits throughout the special where Min mentions she saw flashes of her mother. Billy brings up the power grids, this like multiverse concept of Rangers almost. And of course, you have your own idea of the quantum continuum, which you've been releasing the scripts on. So, do you personally feel there could be a sequel series to the Once and Always story?
I mean, certainly. There's so many ways it could go, and maybe it will go in all of those different directions. I don't know, but certainly they could obviously just do a story about Min in her life. They can do a story about Billy in space. They can do a story about Walter, not Walter, but Zach taking care of Min as well, and like how they get through life. Even the SBA spa, the character of Adam and Aisha, they're in space kind of doing their thing. So there's all kinds of places that it can go. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know. The response has been so great that Netflix and Hasbro kind of are like, what do we do? So time will tell. I haven't heard anything from anybody, so I don't know what the talk is or if there's talk.
Now, contrast to that, I'm a big believer in the next one is always the best one, and I'm a big believer in progress and a big believer in moving forward. So, and just by hearing everything in terms of your Instagram lives and just and your interviews and the way you are, I truly believe you're similar in that sense, where you believe that growth is so important. So, let's say if that doesn't happen, or if you choose for it not to happen, where you say, you know what, I've done my part and it's time for the next generation, or maybe it's something that just doesn't excite you. Are you content with Once and Always potentially being Billy's last viewing as a Power Ranger?
I mean, potentially, sure. I don't know that. I mean, I would like to have a break off and do something like the quantum continuum where it's just not so Power Rangers focused, but it's just, Billy's in space kind of thing, like a different series. Am I content with Once and Always? I would say overall, yes. I mean, there's a few moments that I think were missed for Billy, and I've never said this, so you're the first. I mean, I honestly feel a little frustrated as an actor. the only thing that I think was truly missed was that, here Trini uh, basically saves Billy's life by, jumping in front of Rita's, I don't know, laser, whatever it was, and
Right.
her life is ended. And then like they're in another fight, and then Trini's daughter Min essentially does the same thing, and we never see. I just felt like there needed to be something more between Billy and Min uh, in all of that, because as the character, what does that really say about me as a character, that this happens and it doesn't really get addressed, and we don't really, at least I don't think, really see uh, the emotional connection that Billy truly has for Min in that moment, and another layer of guilt that Billy has. And so that didn't get filmed, and it should have been. I kind of spoke up about it, but they kept insisting, "Oh no, we got it, we got it." And I think they think it played out in the juice bar scene, but I just don't feel
Yeah.
like that. There just needed to be one more scene, and it didn't even need to be big. It could have just been 5 lines. I don't know. But so I don't feel content 100% because I feel like there was just a little bit of something missing in that relationship that needed to be there. For me personally, as the actor who's playing Billy and watching what Billy went through, and watching these two women, two very powerful and strong women, step up and defend Billy, essentially putting their lives on the line for him. I don't feel like I got to express what I wanted to express there as a character.
Yeah.
So that would be my only thing where I feel like I'm not 100% content about, like, okay, this is the final thing for Billy. He's all done. I don't know. Wish, I just wish we could see Billy be uh more human like. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like when people write for Billy, they write expository stuff. So Billy's explaining everything. Billy's creating
Right.
everything. Billy's just like a techno da 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 da. It's never like real like a real human having emotions. It's just like, and so that's always a frustration about playing Billy, is that he's the one that has to explain everything, and it's all technical, and they usually play it in wide shots and everybody's in it. It's just never like, we never really get to see Billy truly what's going on in his head. So I would like to have a little bit more, I guess, where we get to really feel Billy, instead of just technical talk, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
No, it totally does. And one thing I totally agree with what you said, David, is that I think, like you mentioned, with like a character like Billy, sometimes it's easy to fall into those cliches that he's like the science guy, and he's just everyone refers to him for just the update on what's going on with Zordon and all these different grids and this and that. But I agree with that. I think there is sometimes a human element that is missing with the character of Billy. And it's funny you bring that scene up because I was thinking about that too myself watching it. I was just like, I don't know if you've earned that scene almost, and maybe it would have been too cliche for Billy to then just go and try to save Min in the opposite end. Maybe that would have been just way too cliche, but I agree with that. I do feel like there could have been just even a line or two just having that interaction between the two of them, but we're gonna focus on the positives here because again, that's what I
I
love
mean,
about you is that's what I love about you is that you're so honest and you're so open to everything. So, lastly, there is this beautiful tribute at the end of the episode to the original cast with a touching in memoriam, looking back at the last 30 years and specifically after doing this special. Is there something new you learned about yourself or the appreciation you have for the Power Rangers brand?
I mean, I don't know if I learned. Probably should have learned a lot about myself, but I didn't. Maybe I didn't. I didn't pay attention. But for the Power Rangers brand, I mean, I'm always learning. I certainly have an interpretation of how I see the brand and what it can be. But then the fans kind of sometimes bring me back to reality in terms of what they want. And it's always, again, this balance of like, we have our core fan base, and they are, you know genuinely great. and love all things Power Rangers. So you want to please them. And so like sometimes in the things that I see for the brand and how it can go and how to make it a larger success, I think some fans will get very angry about that and get turned off because it's not like, it's not following, it doesn't follow canon, as they say. No, you can't do this or do that because this happened and that happened. And I just like, I have to like step back and go, okay, I mean, what's really important? And so, I hope that fans will just learn to take a deep breath and just realize it's just a story, and you can either like it or not like it, but we're doing it. We're doing certain things to make the brand bigger and make it stronger instead of just leaving it sort of in a niche little area. So, but I certainly in this experience have learned a lot from from the fans and like what they want. And so I'm a lot more cognizant of listening to them and trying to figure out, okay, well, I hear that they want that. So how can I implement that or influence Hasbro in some way to implement that while still trying to expand the umbrella of what Power Rangers is.
Very well said. So let's transition back to you. What do you have on the go next? I know Quantum Continuum is a big thing for you. What do you think is the next thing for you?
Well, if we're just moving on from Power Rangers, I have a whole nother series that I've been working on that has nothing to do with Power Rangers. It's just an idea that came to me. The title of the series is called Commentary. It's kind of a play on words. So the main character's name is Terry, and he happens to be an investigative journalist, former. Something happened in his life where he went from being a very famous journalist to now he just is a college professor who teaches journalism. So that's how Commentary comes about. And it's sort of like his journey through all these tragedies that kind of happened in his life. And then like there's this sci-fi elements where he somehow comes in touch with aliens, and so he's starting to work with helping the human race with the help of aliens. It's a little complicated to explain, but it's another series, and it's a dark comedy, and the people that have read it so far really like it. And so I've been working on getting those scripts done. Again, my mind, I guess, just because of the way streaming services is these days, it's always about eight to 10 episodes. So I'm focusing on 8 episodes and just sort of really hashing it out. And hopefully, I'll be able to present that soon to some people, to powers that be, and maybe we can get that made.
Awesome. Yeah, keep an eye on David's socials for potential updates on Commentary. David, thank you so much for coming on the show today. The first two-time guest on Popcorn and Soda, so you get the medal for that. And
I'm the that's awesome.
and you know what? Yes, millions know you worldwide as Billy Cranston, this superhero. But I really want to take this moment to really paint a picture to the audience about David Yost. You were one of the very first guests I ever had on the show, and at a time where I had no idea what I was doing. Still feel like that sometimes. But you were so gracious with your time. You were so kind, and I'll never forget the words of encouragement you gave me to keep pushing forward and keep working on this. And that meant a lot to me at that time. And here we are over like 80 episodes later, we're still going strong. So I really want to thank you just from the bottom of my heart for being so kind and just for being such a good role model and just being such a good human being, because those things go a long way. And I truly wish you the best of luck in all your future projects. And I look forward to having you back on the show to discuss the next one.
All right. Hopefully I'll be the first three-timer.
Three-timer. Let's do it. David Yost, everyone.
I appreciate your super kind words. Thank you so much. And, congratulations to you. I love what you've done, your 80 episodes. That's like impressive. So keep it up.